there, college student. So, you want to be a graphic designer, do you? That's great! Using elements and principles of design in conjunction with the design process. What's that? You aren't familiar with the stages of the design process? Well, that won't do. Let's take a few minutes and go over the steps it takes to get to a great final design. Sound good? All right. First things first, in order to complete a design for a project and someday a client, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. Understand the problem. Basically, this means you need to ask questions and do some reading. For classwork, you should read over the assignment and any other assigned reading, as well as make sure you understand all parts of the project. Questions are a good thing, and sometimes it takes some clarification before you know what to do. Don't worry, your teachers don't mind, mostly. Okay, so now that you know what you're supposed to do, or at least have the general idea, it's time to do some research. It's important to know what kind of research to do in order to create a design appropriate for the assignment. If your design is for a product, check out what it's used for and what it does. Maybe purchase an existing version and give it a test run. If your design is for a company, organization, or an event, find out what it's about. Look up their website and read their mission statement, or talk to people who know something about the subject. Don't just rely on the internet for your research information. Remember, Wikipedia does not count as a valid source for research. Once you think you know enough about the product or client for your project, it's time to create some design sketches. You don't need to go all out and make a finished project just yet. Save all that for later. Right now, let's start small. Brainstorm a few things about the product or client that could lead to a good design. Remember those descriptive word clouds you did in 3rd grade English class? Try one of those. Write down as many adjectives and descriptive phrases as you can think of, and maybe get a few other people to describe the product or client as well. Include colors or shapes or whatever might come to mind. Okay, maybe not whatever comes to mind. Don't forget about your target audience when creating your design. If it's geared towards adults, don't design for children, or the other way around. No 3-year-old cares about the sustainability of the wood used to make his building blocks. Thumbnails are a great way to get your ideas down on paper quickly. Remember, you're aiming for basics you can improve on later. Try to keep away from the cliché ideas, or use them to come up with a better one. Sometimes, the ideas that jump out first have already been done by many other people. Okay, so you understand your project, you've done your research, and you've got your ideations. Now it's time to choose which ideation you want to pursue and continue working on it until you or your teacher feel it's finished. The easiest way to select which ideation works best is to run it by your classmates. In your graphic design classes, you'll most likely have chances scheduled during regular class time listed as informal critiques. During an informal critique, you don't have to have your pieces fully complete. A general idea of how you want the finished project to look is all you need. There may be 1 or 2 of your ideations you prefer, but your classmates might like a different one of your ideations. Don't panic, it happens all the time. Listen to what everyone else has to say, taking into account why they like the ideation. One of your sketches could read the intended message much better than the others, even though it's not your most favorite. Once you've decided on which ideation you want to pursue as your final project, it's time to refine your work. This might take some time. Nobody ever gets it right on the first try. Yeah, you'll get used to it. Refinements usually entail adjusting font sizes, leading, kerning between characters, changing colors, editing images, rearranging wordings or graphics, sometimes to the point that your final doesn't look anything like your original ideation. That's pretty normal too. You may decide a different font is necessary, or it needs to be made in color instead of black and white. Just keep track of all the changes you make. Printing a refinement after you've made a big change is a good way to track your progress. Plus, you'll need them to turn in at the final critique. Run your refinements by your teacher and classmates as you work. They might offer feedback and ideas you hadn't thought about before, especially since you have a biased opinion. You finished your project? Congratulations! Now all that's left is to get it ready for presentation. Relax, it's easy. Go back and double check everything, making sure you've got all your details solidified, there are no typos in your copy, and you have all the required elements in your project. When you are 98% sure everything is good, let's face it, nobody is ever 100% sure, print off a few extra copies just in case you accidentally mess up and get ready to mount, flap, and trim. Be careful when you mount, flap, and trim your project. X-Acto blades are super sharp. And don't trim too quickly, since it could mean your edges are ragged or your blade slips and you'll have to start over. Starting over is never fun. When you've got your project finished, mounted, flapped, and trimmed, go hang it on the board and do a dance because you're done! Woohoo! So let's review. The 5 stages of the design process are understanding the problem, research, ideations, selection and refinement, and implementation. You go through these stages every time you work on a project, and now that you have a better understanding of what each stage includes, you'll see how they're important to creating your final projects and getting an awesome grade. Now get back to work, you slackers!